Okay, we're going live. Hello, hello. Welcome to Wake Up to Your Life Magic. I'm your host, Dr. Helmut Lucero Love, and I am so excited today because we are continuing in our mission to elevate our leadership in this world through conversations that we're not having. I'll remind you that you can check me out on the book at wakeuptoyourlifemagic.com or check out at Wake Up to Life Magic and learn more. Check it out. But today, I am so excited because I have with me none other than Rosa Yupari. Rosa, how are you?
Oh, I am so excited to be here. Very excited.
I am so happy to have you. And Rosa, where are you from?
I'm originally was born in Lima, Peru, but I've been living in Austin, Texas for many decades now, and I love it in here.
Yes, Texas. That's my home state. So totally relate. Born and raised Texas. So Rosa, tell us a little bit about, first of all, for our listeners, what is it that you do and how do you serve those that you serve?
So, just a little bit of background about me. I came from Lima, Peru when I was 16 years old, and I started to study engineering. I guess that's when my dad said, "You can't be an actress. You gotta go do something that is productive in life." So I studied engineering, and then I started my career as an engineer, and then I moved to sales, and I started to progress in that career. And one of the things that I think impacted me the most is the how much that's having a mentor and a coach helps you tremendously. I felt like at some point I was really stuck. I was feeling alone. I was feeling a bit lost in my career. And I think having a mentor really helped me, and I was elevated in that leadership with a lot of training, with a lot of coaching. And I made it all the way, to chief revenue officer. So for that little engineer that came to the States, getting to that place was really a success for me. But I think along the lines, I learned that leaders really make a difference, not just on your career, I think in your life.
I
And that's my
agree.
purpose now.
I agree. Oh, and what is that purpose?
It is to really elevate those leaders to be better leaders, better people, to elevate, and to learn how to empathize, because sometimes we focus on the ROI so much, but we don't see just the entire, benefit that you do to the universe, but just being a better leader.
Yeah, I want to say that first of all, kudos to your dad for pushing you into into your one
I don't
side
know.
of your
There's some
brain.
days that I'm like, imagine if I could have been a Salma Hayek. I don't think so, though.
No, you probably could have been. You could have been anything you determined in your head you wanted to be. But the beauty is, and I would just say that when women particularly step into one side of their brain, in their major, their degree, and then the other side flourishes, right? So you are both. You're balanced. You have the technical, you have the understanding of. One aspect, and then you have the interpersonal, right? And the leader has both, which is just great to see in someone like you and in many others, male or female, who choose to practice in both arenas, right? And
Yes.
yeah, so that balance is something that I certainly talk about as well in my nine-figure leadership, and I love that's what you do. Tell me what your vision is with the work you're doing, and what you want to leave in the people that you're working with, and the kind of world you're creating over these next 5, 10 years, whatever, as you're serving in your job.
Well, I think that now more than ever, humanity is very important, right? And I'm an engineer. I love tech. I love ROIs. I love data like, anybody else. But I think humanity is even more important than ever with AI. And I do a lot of AI work. I do a lot of AI in workflows, specifically for sales. I noticed that now that you're moving away, all that menial kind of tasks out of the way, the stuff that keeps you busy with little things to do, all you have left is the human connection, And I think learning or relearning how to connect with people is something that the world needs right now. We are born to connect, but I think we've forgotten how to. And for me, I'm doing a lot of advisory and a lot of mentoring and coaching to leaders to elevate them as leaders. And I believe that once you elevate them as leaders, they elevate their teams and you're going to get more successful. But I am actually also loving AI. So with that, I'm creating an AI advisor. So, I come and coach you and mentor you, but then I leave and people tend to regress to their old mindset. And so now I'm creating a little AI persona of me to stick around with you, to remind you, what are the good habits to keep. So that
Yeah.
is my dream in the next 3 to 5 years.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful because then capturing your energy, capturing your motivation, capturing that for someone else in a bottle, so to speak, in an
Yes,
AI
I do
bottle.
want to bottle it. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you can capture all this sunshine, though. I will say though that what you're saying, I have really spent a lot of time recently thinking. We think of ourselves so much, especially in American culture, as individuals, right?
Very
I,
much.
I. But the we, right? We are only as good as we are to each other. So we're the I and we're the us. We're the us because what I do to my neighbor, I do to myself, right? Over time, this all just it is all impacting one another. And I think we're having a wake up call with AI around that.
Yes, we're definitely having a wake up call with AI. I think people are scared now about losing their job, losing their livelihood, and they don't see that the solution is actually more relying on other people. And let me tell you, for women, I noticed that it's a bit harder sometimes to even rely or ask for help. Although we're, the nurturers out there and we are listening, many times we forget that we live in a community. And the other day, I was talking to somebody about branding, right? You're talking about branding is about community. Branding literally is about not how many likes you have on LinkedIn or Instagram. Branding is, for me, is about how many people in the community trusts you for what you do. And that's that goes back to the connection that you have, how you talk to somebody, how you empathize with somebody, and how do you listen? Because we kind of forgot to listen as well.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Branding is telling the community, here's how I can help you, right? Here's how I can
Exactly.
support you. It's not about me, it's about you. Um, wow. So let's talk a little bit. I love this conversation because, we have, you said we got to wake up. We got to wake up, right? Wake up to our life magic. So a lot of this podcast is about, and the show is about talking about how important, first of all, every person is. Your story and the things that you're struggling through, that you're working to become the better version of you, it really matters. It matters because I want you, Rosa wants you, we all want each one of us to become our best self. Because when you do that, we all elevate, right? So that's part of this. And another part is the leadership part. We as leaders in our businesses, it's our responsibility to be leaders in that elevation as well. And a lot of times we take away the concepts of morality, ethics, spirituality, love, connection. We sort of take these out of the workplace because we're all about the money, the profit. And so I want you to talk a little bit, Rosa, about how I know you do some empathy work. How do you marry spirituality, morality, connection into the coaching you do? And where do you want to see this go over time?
For me, there is one word that really encompasses a lot of things, and it's motivation. Especially in sales, we have moved into motivation based on the check that you get. So commission checks, bonus checks, and you're thinking a commission or a bonus check is kind of the reward of, you know, doing a great job. But I think motivation is more than that. Motivation really should come from inside, right? That intrinsic motivation that you have. And a lot of leaders said, well, we have a team of salespeople that are really depressed, that are not performing, that are not meeting quota. We're trying to give them money. We are increasing the spiffs. We are giving them $100 Amazon gift. You know, they're moving around with a lot of external prices, and they're thinking it just helps a little bit, and they go back to the same way. And I think what happens is we don't know how to motivate people. I'm talking motivate people like a good coach does, right? That it comes that you want to do it because it just makes you feel good. And to be able to motivate somebody, you have to learn what's important for the other person. But we're too busy to figure out what's important for the other person. So one of the things that I teach about motivation is if you want somebody to be motivated to get to the goal, you have a big influence in it. And they actually come back to me and they're like, well, motivation, if it comes from inside, how can I help? Right. And it is three things. It is understanding the purpose of that person. We all have a purpose, right? And we hide it sometimes, or sometimes when we don't work on it because we're so focused on we're going to have to pay the bills. The other one is give people autonomy. Stop treating us like, you know, we're dumb. I feel like we're trying to dumb down the world right now. I mean, it's always like speak like you're in third grade because we're dumbing people down. And I think, no, that you're supposed to be elevating them. And so understanding their autonomy and really appreciating their gifts is a big part of, you know, the motivation. And so I think if you start thinking that motivation will bring you better results, then you can start connecting kind of like the human part with the results part. But that's what I think.
Yeah, no, it's very wise. Because what's interesting about what you said is that purpose is highly tied to, I'm going to call it our spiritual beliefs, our values, our grounding sort of being, who we are, who we believe we are, right? If I'm Hindu and I truly believe that I am the child of the three-headed God, right? Or if I'm Christian, or if I'm atheist, or whatever you are, that's sort of one view of self. And then there's that next part of why am I here and what is my purpose, which some people have a religion, but no purpose, right? They don't know what they're actually here for.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting to me because when you have these conversations at work, we're often like, oh, girl, I don't want to talk about that question.
Yeah. Yeah. We're
But
afraid of
often,
being vulnerable. It could be
right,
dangerous. Yeah.
right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But then when you know, hey, you know what? My goal is to love other people while I'm here and love my family. And then all of a sudden, you know what? They really enjoy loving in the sales process. They're going to enjoy loving other people, right? Their clients. And that's what's going to motivate them beyond the money, right? So
And
we
people
can,
feel it, right? They
oh,
feel the energy, the love that you care. Um, and if you have to fake it, I'm sure it's going to be exhausting. Like seriously, how exhausting it be to fake love or to care. But if you really feel it, I think you bring that energy into a room and people want to wake up. Again, the word wake up.
yeah, yeah.
They want to
But
wake up to that magic that they have inside. Because I think we all have it, but we're so afraid of, you know, being too vulnerable, being too open, being too authentic. And there is a place and a time to be those. I don't suggest you being completely vulnerable with everybody and completely authentic with everybody, because that's just not the case, right? I remember I hear Brene Brown always say, make sure you have your post-it note with the people that you can truly trust
yeah,
and be, you know, vulnerable with. But I think at the same time, you can be empathetic and you can listen and you can be understanding. It is amazing how, when I teach, the first lesson that I teach in sales is how to listen. And so I make them listen. And then I ask them questions and they're like, I don't remember. And I go, don't write notes. Forget the notes. I want you to really listen to what I'm saying. And it's hard because our brain is like thinking all kinds. I mean, I do. I was like, oh, shiny thing, squirrel.
Yeah.
You know? And so learning how to listen, I think that's the beginning of this transformation.
You're totally right. We don't listen enough. And I also want to say, the interesting part about what you said just now as well is that, when you think about, you don't want to be vulnerable, right? With all your stuff. But I will say, no matter what your religious, spiritual groundwork is, the one thing we're all good is getting the love part of that faith. Do you know what I'm saying? The one that's like, oh, I don't like this person, or I don't prefer, okay. But in work, the love part is universal. And I I really believe that as employees, we see it in our leaders. You know who's
Oh,
loving,
you know it.
and you'll work for them. You'll work hard for the actual loving person.
Yeah. I mean, it's happened to me where I didn't feel supported or I didn't have the trust. And once that trust breaks, it's hard to give it all. And I always say, I think I invented quiet quitting because I started doing it back in the early 2000s when it wasn't fashionable.
You and me both,
because,
girl. You and me both.
because, when you're selling and you're putting yourself out there and you're getting rejected and you're giving it all your energy, knowing that somebody doesn't have your back, which is key, right? You feel like, I don't want to go and risk me out there if I cannot feel safe in here. And so you start to you start to do a little bit less. You're trying to figure out how can get away with, work just enough to meet something just enough that never give any more.
Yeah.
And that's where you protect yourself. You start putting walls. um you limit your potential. And guess who hurts the most with that? It's the company, it's the
Oh,
leader. I mean,
right. You're right.
you're protected, right? And you are helped, but at the end of the day, if you're thinking about an
The company.
employee,
Yeah. Hmm.
it's hurting the company because you're not gaining their maximum potential, because they're all protected, right? They're like, okay, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna stay here, not going to get away. Don't go off my lane. People are like, stay in your lane, stay in your lane, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna stay in my lane, right? I could go a lot faster, but you're putting 30 miles per hour, and I'm a Ferrari, but you want me to go 30 miles an hour, so this is where I'm going to be. Eventually, though, I have to tell you, just being a Ferrari, I'm like, oh, forget it. I can't. I'm bored here in this 30
Yeah,
miles per
yeah.
hour.
You gotta go. You gotta go. But what's interesting is I'm going to go back to this masculine feminine balance for a second. So I noticed this. I was in a conference. Okay. And they had one day where the female leaders were coming out to speak, and the other day was the typical, like, the guys. And it was fascinating because this was about sales, right? The women were all talking about growing, serving, supporting, um, from a sales perspective, celebrating. And it was, the energy was completely different. The men's session, that men-led session, was about killing, destroying, conquering. It really was. And I was like, wow, completely different. And when you think about it, if you're just like, go get, and you're not having the support as a salesperson from your leader, that you need both. You need go get and I gotcha,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. And it's interesting. I think if you look at sports, because I relate sales to sports a lot,
Hmm.
the best technical director, like, I watch a lot of soccer because that was the sport I grew up with. The way they handle their team is, we are have discipline, we have habits, and then it's like, here, I'm gonna give you a hug, right? You always see them, right? That's when it's amazing, that when it's in the sports, when that you're in a corporate America, and the guys are like, yeah, bro, like, they're pushing each other or whatever, punching each other. But then you go to like a soccer field and somebody makes a goal. I mean, those men are hugging, kissing each other, holding it, pulling, and you're like, they're like letting go, right? And that's beautiful. I'm like, how is this not happening here, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where we have to go. We have to go to that coach that is not just the yelling and screaming, right? That old fashioned coach. But you have to go to the one that allows you to show your humanity. And you're a model. So if you're all stiff and guarded and walls, well, everybody's going to feel like that. But if you see in the field, baseball or soccer or football, people hugging and kissing. I mean, they're literally like kissing each other. It has to do with what their coach does, their manager, their leaders do, right? They come and they hug and they kiss you. And it's beautiful to see. I mean, you've seen it, right? And you're like, wow, this is only allowed in sports.
Yeah.
But it's in front of millions of people.
Yeah. It's so funny. And I say this to you because you're from Peru, and we have this, when you have a Latin strain in your blood, there's something about the Latin heart, right? That there's this element of, you can't uh, um, deny the heart, its part in the human experience, right? And so it's so interesting because you can do all the mind stuff, right? But if you don't have the heart, you're not going to be as strong and powerful in your leadership.
Right.
And I think of that when I think about those teams, like the soccer team celebrating, what's coming out is their heart, how much they really are in love with the team and the camaraderie and them all winning together.
Yeah. And, there's studies that say that, similar to sports in the war, people talk about brotherhood, and they feel more connected with that brotherhood sometimes than when they go back home to the actual person that they fall in love with. So, compared to their wives, they feel a more loyalty, a more passion towards that brotherhood. And I think this is an interesting concept of how, when you're working together and you're trusting your life to this other person, like again, that word trust is so important. And
Yeah.
you're knowing that you're doing your best, but you're not there just for you, but for the other person. That's when that brotherhood, I think, exists. And when they come back and they don't have that same, you know chemical endorphin feeling, it's hard for them, because they
Yeah.
really enjoy that. And I know it would be crazy to think that that's going to be your life every day, but I think you should have it from time to time at work.
Well, I don't even think it's time to time. I think what we have forgotten in our pursuit of money as a civilization is that the connection is extremely valuable, and it's the purpose of the money is to drive the connection. The purpose of business was to love one another. That was really the reason business ever came about. Then we figured out, oh, I could steal more toys from that group over there, right? But initially, and so our whole definition, if you really think about it, yes, you have a spouse. Great, that's one love, but you're full of so much love. If you're walking through work loving everyone and enjoying the connection, even when it's tough, it's so much more fulfilling. The whole experience, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I think it is hard, when you're at work, because you try to focus on what's going to bring the results,
right.
and you try to focus on the doing, right? And you don't want to focus on the feel. And they tell you, well, don't be emotional, right? That's the first thing that I learned. um I had to adapt my Latina persona a lot when I was
Yeah.
at work. I mean, I'm like, okay, I was too loud, I laughed too loudly, I spoke my mind. That was not acceptable back then, and I defended myself. So
Of course you did. Of course you
I
did.
mean, I grew up with four brothers. I mean, I'm gonna trash talk just the same as you will, right? And
Yeah.
so they were taken back, and they're like, "Well, is that your position?" You know, and it was hard to be me. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was very difficult to be 100% Rosa. So my volume was always somewhere between 7 and 8, but I had to adapt, and it's okay too. It's okay to
Yes.
know that sometimes you have to adapt to your surrounding. And and that is why, when I get out and I have friends, I choose them carefully, because they need to accept me at 100%.
Yeah.
And so not everybody, you know somebody else one time, told me that being an acquired taste is something. At the beginning I thought, I felt like an insult, right? Like, because you want to be
Mm.
loved by everybody. But knowing that I'm an acquired taste, it's okay. It's okay that I am different. And it's okay that I am not the same. And it's okay to just have a few people really love me the way I am. For everybody else, if I have to work with you, then I will adapt. And so I wish life would be so wonderful that everybody would accept me at 100%, but that's not the case. So I kind of know that already. I mean, I don't know how about you, but that's my experience.
Yeah, I would definitely say that that's true. Um, I would also say that um, as a leader, I'm setting the culture, and
Hmm.
I got used to I'm setting the example. And actually the most magnetic thing, and I'm talking about, I'll use the example as in a $250 million business at IBM Watson. I'm responsible for the product strategy, and there are, I call it, snakes and daggers all around, right? Because the politic, right? And the people. And you
We're
know
people,
what?
so it's going to exist.
Right. But what cuts through that is love. When you actually care about every person as you're meeting with them and engaging with them, and you don't vilify anyone, they don't even know what to do with it. It's disarming. All of a sudden, they're giving you information they never thought they would give you. They're telling you how to do things, and and I think that's true with clients, customers. If you, no matter what they do, if you decide I'm going to demonstrate this, people see it, your leaders follow, right? And you attract good things. You attract information. You attract the client. You attract grace. The client's pissed off at you. They want to cancel a contract, but you go in and genuinely show and demonstrate love. Oh my gosh. Now the salesperson is like, oh my gosh, thanks so much. Because I was always the product guy. So the authenticity and the connection at any layer is going to have tremendous value. Totally.
Yeah, I think um one time I would, back in the day when you make the phone calls, the true phone calls, right? I will pick up the phone for a client,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I will pick up with a smile. I'll be like, you just know me. Hello, this is Rosa. And they're like, why are you smiling? And they could tell that I was smiling. Just, they were in Houston and they could tell that I was smiling. And I would tease them. I'm like, you're calling me to probably give me a purchase order. Why wouldn't I be happy? I'm excited. And they laugh. So it's funny how the moment that you make somebody laugh, or you do a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of self deprecation, it's contagious.
Yeah.
There is nothing like making somebody laugh. And so my colleagues would ask me, how is it that you're always getting the lunch meetings? How is it that you're always getting the dinner meetings when they're always busy for us? And one time I said, well, let's go ask Lou, see why he always giving me the meetings instead to you. And so we asked him, and he said, because I'm gonna have fun, because I'm
Yeah.
bored here doing this stuff. And then she comes and she's making us laugh, making us feel funny. And she's asking the stuff that is how I make them feel
Yes. Yes. It's how
during
you
the
make
time
people
of
feel.
business, during
Hmm.
the time of dinner. They know that I'm there to sell them, but at the same time, they know that I care because they can feel it. And so at the end of the day, it's like Maya Angelou says, right? It's not what you say, it's what you how you make them feel what really works. And every time somebody asks me for my secret sauce in sales, I said, content is 50%. What you're saying is 50%. It's your tone, your enthusiasm, your belief. That's what really sells.
Agreed. Agreed. Beautifully stated. So let me ask our two wrap up questions that I love to ask. So one is, you sound amazing, just like many. And the reality is, all of us have vulnerability in our business. All of us have something we're working through. So I love for people to see or hear something that you're struggling with in your current business, so that it just helps people feel like they're not alone.
Oh, I can go on forever because I have a bunch of those. One of the things that happens, the economy is up and down, and there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and doubt sneaks in a lot,
Mhm.
right? Not all at the same time, but sometimes you're doing great, and then that doubt starts to creep in, kind of like that Spider-Man and that black thing that keeps coming up, and having to reset and having to say it's okay. Today, I live a lot for today.
Mhm.
Today, I'm okay. Today, I'm did great. Today was a good day. I don't know if tomorrow is going to be, but doubt will come, and be compassionate and love yourself. Sometimes you want to say, why am I feeling insecure? It's okay. Those are good feelings, right? It's a feeling of, it's what, you were born, and the human body has to just knowing, hey, there could be danger out there. And just take it easy and just tell yourself there is no danger out there, right?
Yeah.
Just talk to yourself, be very compassionate, because that's very important. And the other part is, I have to stop comparing myself to everybody else. That is the other part that creeps in, that competition in me that got me to where I am. Is also, how the Enneagram always tells you, what is your strength is also your weakness. That competition, sometimes you start comparing yourself to, um, well, that person has 12,000 impressions, and I worked so hard in this blog and I got 30. And so that constant comparison, my neighbor just bought this and I'm not,
Yeah.
that creeps in. I mean, I don't care how perfect and how spiritual you are, you're always comparing yourself to the person right into the next pew, right? Like, so I think those two things are things that I have to constantly keep in check for me.
Yeah, it's interesting because as you spoke, right, it is you have I'm going to call it a feeling that isn't great, like I'm not feeling great today or whatever, and oftentimes it is tied to a thought, right? Like the neighbor got this and I'll never get that, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The truth is, you're often saying something in your mind that is not true. Usually, I had a mentor once that taught me to. He's taught me to touch the tree. Is that really true? You're never this, or you're never with, and if you can see that that's not true, I'm choosing this feeling. I'm choosing the wrong feeling. Why don't I choose the other feeling? Feelings are the groundwork for your thoughts, beliefs, and actions. And that's why what you said earlier is true too, right? The Maya Angelou, hey, your feeling is what they'll remember, because their feelings lead to their thoughts and their actions. It's the
It
feelings that are
is
so
all, and in sales, I say this, and many CEOs look at me like, what? When I say decision making is about feelings. So it's an
Mhm.
emotional stuff. And I have done a lot of studies in anatomy, to understand, like a lot of neuroscientists have done many studies that when you're thinking and you're making a decision, right? um, the first reaction that comes in, it's the fastest reaction. I love this book, Think Fast, Think Slow. The fastest reaction is the intuition, it's the feeling, right? And then the think slow part of the brain, it starts to rationalize. Well, is that a feeling? Is that true? Do I really need that car? Yes, I need that very expensive car. Do I really need that huge vacation? Oh yeah, I need to rest myself, and I really need. So your first decision is the emotional part, right? You think fast. You can't help it. I don't care if you're super um analytical. Like people go, oh, I'm so analytical, my decisions are always your database. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
you're contradicting the neuroscientists. I don't know if how special are you? They different than every human being. And when I try to tell them, no, the data part comes after, right? And that's how we're wired.
yeah. I
So I
often think
always say,
that
just remember, in sales, they're gonna make the decision about you first,
yeah,
and then they'll rationalize it.
yeah. It's funny. I say the same thing. Uh, I say the exact same thing, but what you're saying is the truth. The way I think of it is that I'm going to give you the data because it's going to help inform you. But honestly, you're working on the feeling because at the end, that's the last trigger. It's the final trigger. Um, so tell me the last question I had for you is really just about something that you've learned in your life experience that you learned maybe the hard way or you wish you would have known earlier that you would share with our audience.
I think that one thing that I learned late in life, is that I should ask for help sooner than later.
Mhm.
I sometimes want to be so independent. We're so individualistic. We're like, we can do it. I can do it. I can do it alone. And I'm strong. And I'm going to suffer until I figure it out. And I think the universe was wise enough and mean enough sometimes, to show me that it is hard to just make it alone. And maybe some people can. Maybe some people can go through life and just be so determined that they can do it on their own. But in my experience, I've gotten to the point where I have to ask for help. And it has been the hardest thing for me to do. And it all goes back to your family of origin. Is this like we were taught to be survivors, to do it on your own, to stop complaining and just go do it. And so this toughness that I was taught growing up really helped me a little, but in the overall life, it made it hard on me. And
Mhm.
so it wasn't until later in life that I learned that there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Um, and I thought that asking for help was, I'm pretty defeated, right? And I don't wait that long anymore. And I could ask, I would suggest to people that feel that they can do it all on their own and they're so individualistic, or they're afraid or they're ashamed, because it could be many feelings with that, right? I've gone through the entire plethora of feelings for not asking for help early enough. I think I would say reconsider
Yeah, that's beautiful. I sitting here thinking, I had a large thought. What's
that.
so beautiful about what you're saying is that, you realize, like I've had realizations and many of us have that have gotten past a certain age, is that we have enough perspective to go back and go, wow, that was a limiting belief that I developed very early And we can break that, right? I talk about that a lot in the book, is breaking boxes, breaking the belief that's holding you back. And part of that is breaking your ego enough to realize that you're not that all that. But the other part, I was thinking more broadly, Rosa, what a beautiful time it is for us in history that we're able to do that. We're talking about it, right? And we're going to make it better and better for our children to break those things earlier. So, what kind of humanity will we be when we're not caught in all those boxes, right? I think we're going to find out.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting because your kids kind of learn of what you do, and they're a great mirror. And
Mm,
one of the things that I learned was I was creating this really tough little girl, right? That's strong and all the stuff. And then I realized, wait a second, I don't want her to go through what I went through. And so I had to be more open and vulnerable with her. And I had to apologize, which my parents never did. I know my parents, oh my gosh, I hearing them to say I'm sorry for something, oh, never in their lives. And so I learned to be me, to say this has been hard. I'm working. This didn't work out, and to just show her that it's okay to fail sometimes. It's okay to ask for help, and we're working on that because, believe it or not, during my career and my ascent into this corporate world, she I remember she once told me, he goes, "Mommy, I can see that you're always so strong and that you never have any feelings, and that I never see you cry, I never see you hurt." And I'm like, "Ah, you had to go into the closet," because I always thought that this is the person that I was supposed to be, right, and model. And I think later in life, when you are with wiser, you're thinking, I think I'm going to try this differently than
hmm
when I grew up.
Exactly. And then you know what? We'll make new mistakes. But the beautiful thing is we're doing it. We're doing it. So I want to invite people, please check out rosayupari.com to learn more about Rosa's coaching, consulting, and mentoring in sales and for sales executive teams. And you can always check me out at drhelmutlove.com as I teach corporate leaders how to lead and strategize with 9-figure mindset, 100 million mindset. Thank you so much, Rosa, for joining me
Thank
today.
you very much. It was a pleasure.
Likewise. Take care, everyone. Till next time.